name is Michelle, and I'm an intuitive counselor, energy healer, channeler, and astrologer who loves to work with sensitives, teaching them how to heal themselves energetically, develop their intuition, and navigate their spiritual transformations and relationships with grace, ease, empowerment, and clarity. And today I'm going to be doing an energy update for the new moon in Aries on April 17th. And I'll be breaking down the energy of the new moon, as well as talking about what's currently happening energetically right now and some upcoming shifts that we can prepare for. Now, this month is definitely a little bit more spicy, and it's a good time to tune into the energy so that you can move through this month a lot more consciously and smoothly. All right, so let's get started with what's happening right now. Where are we at right now? We are in Aries season. What does that mean? That means we're more focused on ourselves. We're more focused on our individuality, our preferences, our needs, our desires, and making that happen, showing up for that, getting that started, moving through our own personal challenges and obstacles, being brave, being courageous, asserting ourselves into the world, and understanding who we are as individuals and how we show up. Now, we are in some interesting times during this Aries season because we have some outer planets that are now transiting through Aries. One of the outer planets is going to be Saturn. Saturn is the planet of responsibility, commitment, doing the hard work, delayed gratification, delays, restrictions. And this planet is going to be transiting through Aries for the next couple of years. And so this makes Aries season a little bit more sobering, a little bit more maturing, a lot more serious in nature, or it has some more gravity to it. It's more stabilizing in nature. And where we may be starting things now that we don't necessarily see the fruits of what we start until later. So, in other words, we don't get the immediate gratification for what we're starting now and the challenges and obstacles that we move through now as we kind of align more directly with what we want in our lives. We are being asked to do the work around our own identity, stabilize into a new identity, and get something started that's likely going to be a part of another 36-year cycle in our lives. So we are very much kind of in the beginning of a very big collective transit, and Aries season is the time of this year where we're starting to kind of come out of some fog, not totally out of the fog yet, but starting to feel the energy or feel the initiations or feel the activations or feel the kind of desires to be able to put our energy outwards. You know, earlier this year, it was very foggy. It was very cocoony. And it was likely very hard for us to direct our energies in a focused or grounded way. And so that's all starting to turn a corner just about now. Um, we're starting to feel that. We're not out of the woods yet with that, but we're starting to feel that. The other thing that makes Aries season different right now is that we have Neptune, an outer planet, that just moved into Aries. Now, Neptune is a slow moving planet. It's the planet of our ideals, our creativity, our spirituality. Oftentimes, when we have transits with Neptune, we have experience of spiritual transcendence and awakening, synchronicity, magical things occurring. We kind of tap into our possibilities, our transcendence, our compassion and healing. And we can also not be seeing things totally clearly. We can be more susceptible to enmeshment and manipulation and delusion and disillusionment and, fantasies getting the best of us. And so we have Neptune in Aries, which just means that collectively the tone of what we kind of dream about and hope for and embrace, around our ideals has changed. It's shifted. We are embracing more individuality. We're embracing more courage and direct pathways to what we want. And we are embracing more courageous leadership, collectively overall. So to have these two outer planets transiting through Aries, to be in Aries season, and have these planets coming out of a conjunction, which took about like a year in 2025 for it to kind of build up to this conjunction where Neptune and Saturn were kind of dancing around each other, around this conjunction to come to a formal conjunction in February. A conjunction is when these two planets are hitting the same degree and they start a brand new 36-year cycle. Okay. And during that time, things were likely confusing. Fear may have come up to the surface. Things were dissolving. Things were solidifying. Things were being suppressed. Things were being exposed. Weird things could have been happening. We saw that happening in the collective. We saw the rise of Christian nationalism, sorry. We saw the war on tariffs. We saw the economy starting to fluctuate quite a lot. We saw you know, the rise of authoritarianism. We have seen wars becoming more pronounced, especially around oil and resources, as well as, almost like psychological warfare. And we've also seen the governments exposing things and suppressing things. Exposing and suppressing. Information being revealed, information being suppressed, cover-ups, things being exposed, things dissolving, foundations crumbling, new systems initiating, new systems falling, old systems falling apart. This is a very big kind of cycle that's closing and beginning at this time. Now, that conjunction hit an exact point in February, or I think it was like February 20th, something around that date. And right now, Saturn is about 5 degrees away from Neptune. Now, typically, you would say the most potent part of that transit would be when Saturn and Neptune are within a 3-degree orb. That's when we can like really feel it and we're really in it. The larger the orb, the less of the intensity we feel in those outer planets and how their energies are blending together. And so right now we're in a 5-degree orb. That's still, you know, depending on different astrologers' perspectives, that's still a conjunction. And it won't be until Saturn is 10 degrees away from Neptune and further from 10 degrees, where we're kind of outside of a wider conjunction. So technically, we're still in this kind of outer planet initiative kind of transit, but we're on the other side of it, and we've passed the most intense part of it, and now we're all going through a reorientation around what has happened in our lives, what has dissolved, what has been materialized, the new 36-year cycle we're all beginning on a personal level around our identities, around our spiritual identities, around our spiritual purpose on earth, why the heck we're here right now, what's going on right now, how are we a part of the new world, the new system, the new world order, where do we fall within the collective? What is our role within the collective? Um, what is a new identity that is forming right now for this time on Earth, for this next 36-year cycle? These are some of the um, things we've been dealing with etherically, not necessarily Personally, this has been a very unclear, spiritually foggy process. So a lot has been happening energetically, kind of like if you were in a cocoon or you were floating around on the astral, going through major reality restructuring on your own astral plane, or in your own spiritual cocoon, or in some kind of cosmic egg. There's been a lot of foggy, energetic, dissolving, rebuilding happening, restructuring going on for you and your identity and your purpose and your mission and your desires and preferences and what makes you you now. So, this could be a time where you're starting to tap into something a little bit more focused or a little bit more direct about your life, the direction of your focus that you're taking, and some of the real limitations that you're dealing with, some of the real restrictions that you're dealing with, some of the real delays or hardships that you might be dealing with, and yet still feeling that somehow it's somewhat possible, somehow you still have some hope, somehow you're healing, you have compassion, you're experiencing some synchronicity or experiencing some form of awakening that's allowing you, or some kind of energetic sensitivity or heightened intuition that's allowing you to continue more of a non-linear journey um, towards what you're being called to do right now. All right. Now, looking at this, where we're currently at leading up to this new moon, we have had Mercury in Pisces for a long time. Um, Mercury went into Pisces earlier this year, and then it went retrograde in Pisces. And now it's past its shadow, hallelujah, and it's about to hop into um, Aries on April 14th, so just before this new moon. Okay. And so it's been likely challenging for everyone on some level around thinking, processing, translating, communicating, focusing, understanding, feeling clear, mentally. You may have been going through a lot of mental fog, with Mercury and Pisces, simply because there have been so many energetic activations that have been occurring on a spiritual, energetic level that your mind has likely been going through a type of transformation, a type of alchemy, or a type of dissolving process. Mental blockages, emotional blockages, psychic blockages. When Mercury starts to go into Aries season, okay, so after the 14th, we're all going to be in a much clearer place, kind of. Um, Not at first, but we're getting there. But like with Mercury in Pisces, it's at its fall, which means already that your mind is a little bit more energetically sensitive, sensitive to collective energies, sensitive to collective changes, more like a psychic sponge, more confused, psychic, non-linear thinking, intuitive thinking. So when it comes to like, doing your bookkeeping or, paying attention to details or communicating things in an articulate way, that may have been difficult in terms of feeling grounded mentally or clear or focused mentally. That may have been difficult. When it comes to being more dreamy or um, being in tune with your dreams, your imagination, your psychic abilities, that may have been stronger. But generally, people have been reporting, and what I'm seeing is that there's been a lot of mental fog. And that is because I am seeing a lot of activations happening right now around this new 36-year cycle on the planet. We are pioneering some new shit on the planet. We are going into a new world order. We are going into new world energy. We are going into things that are going to be awesome, like what we've recently experienced by witnessing Artemis and people traveling the farthest that they've ever traveled in space. That is an example of pioneering into new territory. That's happening during the seeding of this new 36-year cycle. That means likely we could see more themes evolving from this, where we see more pioneering into space. And at the same time, we've seen war. We've seen war over resources and oil and threats of, power shutoffs and, electricity. And this is putting us all into that space of, man, we need to be more self-sustaining. Like how do I get my own electricity, my own resources, my own power, my own fuel, my own energy, my own, network, my own this or that? How do I become more sovereign? Is essentially what's happening. It's happening individually, it's happening collectively, it's happening in our countries, France, or I forgot what country it was, but I think, a country in Europe started to shift from, like US, Microsoft into it like a different, software. So it's just more sovereign from the United States. And so that's an example of where people are starting to become more sovereign because there's less interference. And you're more likely, when you're more sovereign, and more kind of independent, you're less likely to have interference with your goals, and you're less likely to be enmeshed and impacted and dependent on other people, other factors, other circumstances that could be suppressing you or controlling you or dominating you or, messing with you or interfering with you on some level or sabotaging you on some level. So sovereignty is a major kind of theme that is being initiated right now. And, our minds have been very foggy leading up to this because there's been lots of activations with this Neptune-Saturn conjunction and all these inner planets like the Sun, um, Mars, and Mercury about to all conjunct with Neptune and Saturn in Aries season. So basically, that means we're all getting hit with this collective initiation where we start to dissolve energy within us. And that's why it feels foggy or ungrounded or disassociated or like hard to focus or like you have dementia or something, because it's an activation. You're getting activated. You're dissolving intuitive blockages. You're dissolving spiritual blockages, energetic blockages, blockages that show up around your purpose, your mission, your ability to go directly into your own long-term goals and what you're here to do. You're dissolving blockages right now around that, because what you're setting up here is a new spiritual identity that is more aligned with your divine nature, your spiritual essence, what you're here to do, and more direct, intuitive, informed action that comes through you, that's embodied, that comes through you out into the world. And so, for those of us that are here to be leaders in the new world, or here to be a part of society in the new world, are getting very activated right now, dissolving a lot that needs to dissolve so that there's more embodiment of your true spiritual nature that you need right now to do what you're here to do what we're all here to do right now on this planet. This planet is in a big initiation right now, a big initiation, a deep initiation, a widespread initiation. This is a worldwide, global thing that's happening. We're seeing it everywhere. Okay. That's where we're at right now. A lot of healing going on, a lot of activations going on, a lot of embodiment, not kind of like the activations of bringing more of yourself in, and then the adjustment period of dissolving and detoxing and embodying this new version of you. And this new version of you, it's more confident, it's more assertive, it's more directly aligned with your intuition and your spiritual nature. And it is here to build something. It's here to put something into place. It's here to start something new, be a part of something new. It's here to um, start creating the structure that you need for your long-term purpose or mission or life path, here at this time. Woo! So that's what's happening now. So now let's shift over to this new moon in Aries. This new moon in Aries is happening on April 17th on a Friday at 1:51 a.m. Hawaii time. Yeah, so we're looking at a late degree new moon. That means the new moon is going to be at 27 degrees in Aries. That means we're going to have a new moon. And then about 2 days later, on the 19th, the sun is going to move into Taurus and we're going to be in Taurus season. So we're having a new moon in Aries. And then 2 days after, we're popping into Taurus season. Okay. Now, the thing about this new moon in the later degrees of Aries is that it makes this new moon more expansive. It asks us to embody our wisdom. It asks us to embody new opportunities, start things that would embrace new opportunities or new experiences. And it overall asks us to embody a newer, kind of like a new philosophy in our lives associated with how we go about reaching our short-term and long-term goals. Now, the thing about this new moon is that it is conjunct Chiron. Chiron, the wounded healer. Not only that, it's conjunct Eris, the goddess of chaos and disorder. Eris is at 25 degrees. We're going to have Chiron at 26 degrees and then this new moon at 27 degrees. So what does that mean? Well, Chiron is the wounded healer. It is going to bring up some level of awkwardness or trauma that is correlated to our identity. And it also brings the medicine we need to heal that, the opportunity that we need to heal that, the experience that we need to heal that. With Eris, the goddess of chaos and disorder, mixed in with all that, this means that something can be revealed to us about our own identity, about our own trauma, about our own awkwardness and patterns and shame, and that can lead to an awakening of self. It can lead to awakening of, oh, this is who I really am. I'm not that pattern. I'm not what happened to me. I'm not this trauma. I am this. This is my true identity. This is my true spiritual nature. This is who I am. I'm going to awaken to who I really am in this new beginning. Beautiful. Okay. Beautiful. Be prepared for some activations that could have you possibly have to mature around your identity, showing up in a more mature masculine energy, yeah, a more kind of integrated, secure, mature masculine energy. This is the new beginning that helps us all do that. Okay. Now, nothing is directly aspecting this new moon, but we have a lot of energy in this new moon. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 6, 7, uh, you know, uh, like planets, in Aries during this time. That is a lot of Aries energy. That's a holy stellium. I mean, that is a massive amount of Aries energy. Okay. So this is about you. This is about your identity. This is about who you are. I am that I am. This is about you, what you're doing in the world, who you're becoming, what you're embodying, what you have to put in place, how you think and translate that, how you put that into action, and how it aligns with your spiritual purpose, your ideals, what you're called here to do, your intuition, even. Okay, so let's get into another layer of this new moon. This new moon is ruled by Mars. Mars will be in its home sign of Aries. Good, that's great. Mars in its home sign means that we're resourced. We're more likely to be very direct, energized, focused, and ability to kind of build the courage and be very direct about what we want and what we need and what we desire, and move through our fears, move through the obstacles and challenges in a very comfortable way. Okay. So we got that going for us in this new moon. However, there is a caveat, and that is that uh, Mars is going to be sandwiched between Neptune, the outer planet, and Saturn in the outer planet. Now, when Mars came into Aries, it immediately conjuncts Neptune. And so we start to, tap in, let's say, to some action steps that is maybe like having more of a broad connection to what we are, here to do, what we're being called to do, who we are. Maybe leading up to this new moon, you may have been opening up to possibilities or feeling a little bit more hope or inspiration around what you need to do, the action that you're here to take. You may be building the confidence, or you may be, again, dissolving some blockages around your masculine energy that you need to dissolve. And we're tapping into our ideals, we're tapping into our dreams. But then as we get to this new moon, Mars is going to be closing in on a conjunction with Saturn. So we're going to be approaching this experience where we get a reality check, where we have to slow down, where we might feel less energized, more restricted. We might need to be more present with our actions. There could be an increase in irritability, frustration, or criticism within us or outside of us. We could be running up against a bit of a roadblock, around this new beginning. Not that it is meant to stop us, but it is meant for us to assess real roadblocks, real limitations, real obstacles that are in our way that we need to address in our foundations in a very grounded, sustainable, committed, responsible, and mature way. Okay. And it's also going to be very close to Mercury here. There's going to be this tighter conjunction with Mercury, which means our mental activity could be faster. We could be, honestly, this is where I need you to be very, very present, okay, and very, very conscious during this new moon and the weeks, the kind of like week after this new moon. This could be a time where you could easily get into fights. You could easily say something too direct, too mean, too challenging, too confident in a way that hurts someone else, creates violence or fighting. That's the downside of it. On the upside, you could be, having a lot of optimism, enthusiasm, and energy mentally to do something, to get something done, to put energy into what you want to do, to move forward on something, to get things started. Really, it's just a time for you to slow down, be present, um, recognize that if there are any limitations or roadblocks, it is a time for you to slow down and assess your foundations, your limitations, and to, be patient with how you may move through that, what you need to address before you move forward. Okay, those are, let's say, important restrictions and limitations to be aware of because they help you move forward in a way that's more responsible, more mature, more grounded, and more stable. Okay. Some good questions I have to ask are, what is your desire right now? What is calling you? What is your desire? Where do you want to focus right now in your life? What fears do you need to move through in order to get what you want? Where could you use more courage? And what are you pioneering in your life right now? What are you pioneering in your life right now? And how can you overcome your challenges and obstacles in a more direct way? And this is where you need to be aware. This is where you need to bring a lot more awareness and presence. Any conflicts that are arising in your relationships or in your life on some level, are you fighting about it? Are you forcing something? Or are you showing up with more maturity, commitment, responsibility, and stability? This could be a time where you have more tension between yourself and others, between getting your needs met and your desires met, but also being diplomatic. This could be a time where you're too direct. You mishandle a conversation. Maybe it gets a little bit messy or mishandled. Maybe it's a little too aggressive or assertive. This could be also a time where you face some confidence issues or some patterns or trauma around asserting yourself and knowing who you are. Has it been awkward for you? Has it brought up deeper trauma for you or deeper awkwardness for you to assert yourself in some way? This can also be a time where we're easily more thicker skinned or more armored or just disconnected from what other people are experiencing. We may be less emotionally attuned, forgetting to be sensitive to other people's needs. So, by slowing down and being more present, of course, this is a season where you are focused on yourself, but remember that you always have to balance that out with being aware of others. And remember that this could be a weakness during this time is forgetting about the other person, forgetting about their relationship, forgetting about someone else's needs. Now, collectively, we are likely seeing um, uh, more issues with military conflict, war. But on the positive side, we've seen some beautiful things like new frontiers, new territory, new entrepreneurship, brave leadership, young leadership, um, more courageous efforts towards boundaries and sovereignty, and not allowing authoritarian agendas to fully expand. Um, so we're seeing silver linings of initiations that are taking place in society during this intense time. All right. The other thing I want to mention here around this new moon is just the vibe. The vibe is around this new beginning. This is more of like an intuitive way of me sharing this new beginning with you, just as a whole. Let's say that you want to start something or you need to initiate something that's important to you. But let's say, like planting a seed, like let's say you want to um, create a garden, okay? And you have your seed and you go to plant your seed to start the garden. But when you go plant the seed, you realize that the soil is really, really dry. And you realize that there is no real source of water near the garden. So it makes it very, very difficult to water the garden. And you realize that you're in the middle of a drought season. And so there's no rain to nourish the seeds and to help the seeds grow. So you're kind of in a pickle, with this new initiation because the results that you want are delayed. It requires more work for you to get something started, and your circumstances are restricted in some way. And so let's say that there's a river that's like 10 miles away. And so you have some choices. You could, there's many different pathways to getting what you want. You have some choices. You could decide to hike 10 miles and plant a garden near the river and create some irrigation from the river that helps your garden or have access to water. Either way, that's going to delay it. That's going to create more work for you, and you have to reorient yourself to a whole new location in order to do that. Or you could wait. You could just say, this is not the right time. I'm going to wait for rain season and I'm going to wait, and everything gets delayed. Or you could hike, you know, hours each day and, you know, bring water from the river to the garden or build a canal or like a stream that branches from the river to your garden. Either way, it's going to take more time, more effort, more work, right? So in this scenario, something is restricted to the point where the foundations aren't ready. Um, the circumstances aren't completely ripe, and it's going to take time and effort and enable in order to make it work. Okay, that's kind of like the tone of this new beginning. We have to work through our ability to say, I can do this. This is possible. I can find a way. I just need to do the work and I need to be patient. And what I want is going to happen, but it might not happen immediately. And I am going to lean into deeper alchemy, deeper levels of transformation. I am going to lean into refinement and improving things as I go. I'm going to be adaptable when I need to be adaptable, but overall, I'm going to do what I need to do. I'm just cleaning up my screen right here. Right. So this is asking us to be more innovative. It's asking us to be more open to, our deep levels of transformation that can occur, coming into our power, our soul experience, coming into our power, our soul experience, healing, and doing the work, being committed, showing up responsibility, maturing, especially our masculine energy. This is kind of where, like, can we can we do what we said we're going to do? That's an important part of this new beginning. Can we do our words align with our actions? Do our words, our intuition, and actions align with our long-term goals? Are we putting effort into our foundations and our long-term stability through our words and actions and intuition and alignment from our soul experience in this collective experience now in the world? And can we heal and work through any trauma and allow it to awaken us to who we really are, who we really are on a divine level, on a spiritual level, embodied in a human body, and what we're here to do now? And can we assert ourselves when we need to assert ourselves so that we can get through any form of interference and, build and align with what we're here to do? That's like the energy of this new beginning. So I want you to be prepared, for this new beginning, because the weeks that come after this, or especially the week after, we have Mars. Let me just put this here. We have Mars on the 19th, 2 days later. It conjuncts Saturn. Okay. This is when we're going to maybe feel a collective tone of frustration and irritability and kind of like that harsh inner critic, kind of grumpy grandpa kind of energy. Okay. And this is kind of because collectively people are going to be running into delays and roadblocks and like the limitations, the practical limitations that they're dealing with, the hardships or the maturing process that they have to deal with. But you, as a bright, conscious, enlightened, sensitive, creative, awesome person, are going to experience this maybe as, I can sense, the collective being kind of grumpy, but that's not mine. What's mine is being present right now, coming into more of my presence, being aware of my masculine energy, being aware of my foundations, my long-term goals, what I'm here to build, my next step in how I initiate real practical action in my life. The things that I need to address immediately versus the things that I need to address and align with in the long term of my life. That's the energy that's occurring. And who am I and how am I going to show up? What am I going to say today? And how am I going to back up my words with actions? How am I going to be more committed between my words, my actions, and my real life goals, my long-term goals, what I'm building here? And then moving on to the next day on April 20th, we're going to have Mercury conjunct with Saturn. Okay, another day where mentally we may be feeling, I'm going to be honest, collectively, we may be feeling more of a depressed, serious, heavy, critical, harsh tone. Okay, we may be seeing news in the media about war, about the government, about our systems and society. It may feel heavier, harsher, colder, more restricted that day in the collective. But for you, as a bright, conscious, creative, sensitive, awesome human being, this could be, again, more ground, like a feeling of being more grounded in reality, getting real reality checks about that you can understand mentally about, what you are doing, what you are doing, what you need to do, the action that you need to take, the foundations that you need to address, the karma that you need to address. Saturn can be very karmic, the real life things that need to be addressed and the maturing process and the action process that you need to take in order to do that, okay? And then around April 23rd, okay, we are going to have Venus conjunct Uranus. Now, Uranus is in Taurus. It's been in Taurus for like 8 years and it's at the 29th degree. This is an intense anaretic degree where we are kind of getting destabilized with this energy of Uranus and Taurus because it's about to shift in. We're about to have a shift collectively, and we're about to shift into Gemini. Uranus is about to shift into Gemini. Now, Uranus is the planet of technology, our higher minds, breakthroughs, our freedom, our individuality, our weirdness, our uniqueness, freedom. Okay. It is the planet of change, disruptions, awakening, okay, rebellion, revolution. And it's about to shift into Gemini. And it's going to be at 29 degrees and it's going to shift into Gemini on the 25th. But 2 days before it shifts into Gemini, we're going to have Venus conjunct Uranus. Okay, now collectively, this could be about the economy and our money. Something could be destabilized or something could show up around our resources that might be a bit shaky, destabilized in some way. So just be aware about that in the collective. There could be some money stuff, economy stuff, um, happening collectively that feels kind of shaky or unstable in some way. Our resources might be becoming unstable in some way. We've already seen the crisis with oil, the gas prices going up, the economy is like, uh, And then, um, this could be affecting real estate. This could be affecting housing system. This could be affecting, things like that. However, on a personal level, for those bright, lovely, lovely friends out there, this could be a moment where you are wrapping up a karmic completion around your relationships. It could be a moment where you are allowing a change or a shift to occur in your relationships. You are breaking through relationship patterns. You are up leveling your self-worth. You're coming into more self personal value. You are valuing yourself and others. You are coming into more financial you're up leveling your abundance, you're up leveling your relationship to money. You could be breaking money patterns. This can be this can be a transit that can bring up something unpredictable around your desires and around your relationships and shifts and changes in your relationships. But it doesn't mean that that is scary and destabilizing and negative. It just means it ultimately any disruption that you get with these transits to Uranus is, at the moment, it could be a little bit surprising, exciting, maybe shocking, maybe disruptive, but looking back, it's kind of like a breakthrough and an up leveling. Like I always think of these transits with Uranus as like timeline shifts, multi-dimensional shifts, like leaps, quantum leaps. I know some people out there think all of that's bullshit until you go through it, and then it's not bullshit. Okay. I just finished 8 years of Uranus opposing all of my Scorpio stellium, and my life went through an epic quantum leap during that time and very multidimensional changes all over the place. Okay. My life is nowhere near the same as it was 8 years ago. Major life changes. All of it happening very spontaneously, very unexpected, you know, just unhinged, right? So, until you go through it, you might not understand it, but that stuff is real with Uranus. The timeline shifting, the quantum leaping, the multidimensional experiences, the changes, the awakenings, the disruptions. Anyways, this is about to shift into Gemini. And so this is going to be correlated to, changes in transit, media, our communication. We could be seeing more independent social media platforms being created. We could be seeing new forms of communication being created, more communication devices. We could be seeing our voices being activated, lots of fifth chakra opening and changes happening with the way we communicate. We could be seeing a lot of change occurring locally in our neighborhoods. We could be seeing lots of shifts with technology and, society, revolution, change happening at a very local level. So that's happening in later April, on April 25th. Right after this conjunction, we're going to have Uranus shifting into Gemini, and that's when that's going to happen. So something in our hearts is changing. You could think of like a shift is changing in our hearts, a shift is changing in our abundance, a shift is changing, with how we relate to each other. And then we have this, outer planet, Uranus, shift into Gemini. Okay. And so this might be something where we just get more attracted to experiences that are happening in our local communities, experiences that are happening in, our willingness to look at multiple perspectives, embrace more facts, develop new systems of communication that help us understand each other. It can bring about, some changes around how we learn, think, and teach, and share, and network, and all that. Okay. So we've got some big shifts happening, big activations happening this month. Activations happening as we move towards this new moon, activations happening after the new moon, as well as a major shift with Uranus moving into Gemini on April 25th. So this is a big month. It packs a punch. And, I will leave you with this. This is a time to, as much as you might want to barrel forward in your life, and move faster. This is a time of natural delays and taking things slow and steady. And so it is a time to be more present because you are getting more activated. And by activated, I mean you are getting possibly downloads, intuitive hits, or influxes of light into your system, influxes of you, more of you, embodying more of you, divine activations, okay, where you're embodying more of your divinity. Your masculine energy is going through changes. Okay, so you may not have as much energy, or you may need to go through adjustment periods, or things may just not be so clear. You might run into real obstacles and roadblocks. And so this is a time to be more grounded. This is a time to slow down and be more present. This is a time to embrace stability and a slower pace, even if you want immediate results and you want to go faster. This is not the time where we need to be reckless with our action. It's a time where we need to be mature, responsible, and stable and grounded with our action. Because right after this new moon, 2 days later, we are moving into Taurus season, and our focus will generally shift to enjoying the simple things in life. Having more of a body-focused experience, what we're feeling in our bodies, our relationship to our bodies, enjoying our food, enjoying music, enjoying each other, being aware of our inner stability around finances, our financial foundations, our financial security, our values, things like that. That's what starts to come into focus. And Taurus is definitely more of a steady, fixed pace. Okay. So although we're going to have some things that might feel like, I'm going to go do that thing. I want to do that thing. I want this thing now. Embrace the wisdom of consistent action and follow through and following up on what you say you're going to do and aligning with both intuition and practical action. That's where we're at right now. Thank you so much for listening to this energy update. It was a pleasure being with you today, and I appreciate you listening. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Leave me a comment, share this with someone you love. Give me a big psychic hug. If you're listening to this on Spotify, please rate the podcast, comment. Let me know what's happening for you. I would love to hear where you're at right now. What resonated, what makes sense to you right now? How is this landing for you? What is something that helped you when I was sharing all this? What was something that helped you, that assisted you? Now, in terms of working with me, if you're interested in working with me, I offer free 15-minute consultations to go over my services, but I offer personal sessions and group sessions and online classes. If you're interested in getting a natal chart reading or a look at your own personal transits and how the outer planets and the inner planets are affecting you over the next few months or 6 months, book a reading with me if you want an intuitive or psychic reading or an energy healing. Maybe you're really stuck and you need some help, or you are sensitive to energy and you need to learn how to reset and cleanse your energy and develop your intuition and work with that. I offer one-on-one classes as well as group classes. Again, I would love to hear from you. Get in touch with me and I can give you a next step. All right, everyone. So good to see you. Take care. Bye.